Today I'm going to show you how to add a monogram initial to a hair bow loop. This bow I'm going to show you in the example is a cheer style hair bow, but you can use the same technique for other types of bows that you're making. I have this other example here where the loop embellishment is this my bow and then the text is on the tail. So let's go ahead and get started. The materials that I'm using are 28 inches of 3 inches wide black grosgrain ribbon that I've already cut and heat sealed the ends. I'm using a ponytail holder, a piece of metallic 3/8 inch glitter velvet ribbon for the center. I'm going to need 2 zip ties, and I also have the alphabet sheet of the monogram initials that I'm going to add. I'm just going to use one letter. We have these available in all letters, and then you can also just buy individual letters if that's all that you need. And for this project, I'm just going to use the letter E. All of our spangle embellishments come shipped on a piece of clear plastic transfer paper, and then there is a white backing to protect it. And I'm only going to use the E, so I'm going to cut out just the letter E from the alphabet sheet. And then I have the rest that I can use for other projects. Now I want to put the E on the loop of the bow. So what I'm going to do first to make sure that I get it positioned correctly is I'm actually going to make the bow first and then decide exactly where I want it. To make the bow, I'm going to fold the ribbon in half, and then I'm going to use my little mini craft iron because this is a small letter that fits nicely with the mini iron, and I don't have to pull out the big iron. The mini one works well for situations like this. So I'm going to iron a crease into the center, and then take your ribbon and you're just going to cross it like this. So what I'm going to do first is just make the bow without the embellishment on it. And that way I'll be able to see exactly where I need to position it. If you're making a lot of bows with the same embellishment, you might want to make your first one, this one, as a template, and then you won't have to make and take apart each bow from that point on. So I'm just going to make this bow like this, and then I'm going to take my letter and I'm going to position it exactly where I want on the loop. You just peel the white backing off, and this transfer paper is sticky, so all of the spangles will stay in place. Now I'm going to take my letter and I'm going to put it right where I want. And then I'm going to cut it apart. I'm going to cut this center off so I can iron this on, and then when I put the bow back together, the E will be exactly where I want it to be. So I'm going to cut the center. This is why I use 2 zip ties for this. If you don't want to use a zip tie for this first part, you can just use like 1/4 inch sheer bow tying ribbon or embroidery floss. If like I said, if I was making a lot of bows, I would keep this one piece as a template, and that way we wouldn't have to go through this process each time. Now leave your embellishment in place, and then put some kind of cover sheet over so you're not ironing directly on, and then you're going to put your iron on top of the cover sheet. Just make sure the surface area covers your embellishment completely. And you want to apply some pressure and hold it in place for about 15 seconds. Okay, now I've waited until this has cooled before I start to peel this plastic carrier sheet off. This is definitely a cool peel type of embellishment. You don't want to peel it when it's warm because then the glue hasn't set yet and you'll just pull your spangles off. So you're going to start at one corner once it's cooled, and you're going to carefully start pulling it back away from the ribbon. If any of the spangles start to lift while you're doing this, just stop right where you are and place it back down and put the pressing sheet over it and use the iron again and wait for it to cool. But it looked like mine were staying on here. I was able to pull the carrier sheet off, and there's my E. So I'm ready to put the bow back together, and I'm going to do just the same thing I did the first time. So I'm going to cross the tail section, make sure that I keep in mind my center point in the back. And if you want to make sure everything is perfectly proportioned, you can measure your tails. Make sure that they're exactly the same length. This is 4.5 inches, and this one is 4.5 inches as well. So keep your crease in the back, and then you can work the center again. Just fold it back and forth a few times. Take a zip tie, hold that center in place, and then pull your zip tie. Now before you trim that zip tie, check your bow and make sure that your loops are even, your tails are even, and that the bow is exactly how you want it to be. If you have to make any adjustments to the loops or the tails, this is the time to do it. And once you're satisfied with it, pull your zip tie real tight, trim the back, and you can see that you have the embellishment in place where we put it when we did the trial bow. So to finish the bow off, I'm just going to add a ponytail holder to the back and then the center. So the ponytail holder is real easy to add, just need some hot glue. And then put that on the glue and hold it in place for a second till it dries. And to put the center ribbon on, I like to use double-sided D670 tape. It's a very strong crafting tape. So just lay it on the back of your ribbon. It has a layer that covers the double-sided backing, so just peel that off. Then stick it so that you have the cut part in the back of the ribbon, or of your bow, and then loop it around, and then trim off any extra, and your monogram bow is complete. The same technique works for any other type of bow that you may be making, if you're making a boutique style or just like a tails down bow. Make the bow first, decide exactly where you want the embellishment to be, stick it in place, and then take it apart, iron it on, and put it back together. And that way your embellishment will be exactly where you want it.